For the latest Football Prizes competition, to win a Lucas Paqueta signed West Ham United shirt display with LED lighting, go to footballprizes.co.uk. All tickets are $3.95 each. Also, this month, we're doing a charity month where 20% of the proceeds go to a local charity. So go to footballprizes.co.uk for all the latest information. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Friday late night. An impromptu one. I was thinking about doing it. Then I asked a couple of guests. Obviously, we got the usual co-host, Nigel, who I can see in the background is not sitting at his desk, but I'm sure he'll be there in any moment. But I asked another guest to come on if he was available, and he confirmed. So we thought we'd do a show, and it'll be the usual stuff. There's no written script this time round. You know what I'm like with scripts. You know, if I don't have it written down, I'll forget. But this is a general chinwag, and we're going to talk about all the things that have happened over the past week. And there's been an awful lot, hasn't there, with the whole Lopetegui, Kudus issue. And then we heard today that apparently Kaczynski absolutely, definitely was the man who brought Steiden in. He interviewed him just like everybody else did at the club. And we'll talk about Lopetegui and his tactics and what's going to happen with the game on Saturday. And I'm sure with Nigel, let's bring him in. Otherwise, he'll get upset because he is the co-host. And I'm sure with Nigel, we're going to find a few snippets of wonderful information, all the historic stuff that none of us ever knew about or none of us ever know about, apart from Nigel himself. But without further ado, let's bring the guest on. How are you, by the way, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on about 3 minutes before. Let's bring the guest on. Good evening to you, Gary. How are you, mate?
I'm absolutely fine. How are you, Stel? All right, Nigel?
Okay.
Very well, very well. I believe you haven't spoken to Nigel for at least an hour.
Yeah, it's been hours. Yeah, literally hours. Yeah.
I'm not saying Gary's a professional, but he does give me a running order. Yeah.
He gives you a running order?
Yeah, you should hear what he says about you, Stel. You should hear what he says.
Running. I'm not allowed. By the way, I got told off by a viewer last week, Nigel, and I blame you for. I don't know why. I don't know why, but when Nigel's on, I usually end up swearing more than I should. No reason for it. No reason for. He brings out the Eastender in me, doesn't he? That's what he does.
The Cockney
in your dreams.
Because I'm not one, am I?
No,
so. Gary, I'm sure people, the people that are watching know you, but would you like to give your little channel a little plug?
Yeah. My little channel is called The Bobby Moore Stand. Been going a couple of months now, roughly, give or take. It was me. I set out on my own. Now I've got a co-host called Chris, who I work with, do shows with, and we're doing things. The idea of the channel is to kind of eventually make some content that's going to be a bit less disposable, put it like that. You know, we all make these shows that last about 3 or 4 days. We want to make stuff that lasts a little bit longer. But obviously it takes longer to make those shows. That's the idea.
Don't beat about the bush, Gal. Tell him straight. It shows that people want to watch, not like this. That's what you really meant to say.
I love shows like this.
Thanks for plugging this channel, Nigel, Mr. Co-host.
Yeah.
Stuff that people don't want to watch. I mean, that's just perfect, isn't it, really?
just cutting through the fluff, isn't it?
Yeah. He did. He saw right through it there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So what should we start with? What subject matter do we start with? Do we start the one that started the week and talk about Lopetegui and Kudus? Is that a good place to start, if any?
Yeah.
Let's talk it through. I mean, you know, we've all heard what's happened now. You know, we've heard that there was a fallout. apparently that the player and the player apparently got so upset, from what we understand, that he had to be held back. How true that is, I really don't know. The first we got sight of it, I was at the game last weekend, and after the game, one of the guys I was with having a drink afterwards said, "Oh, apparently something's happened. Something happened at the game. There was a bust up." And I said, "Well, any more detail?" And I was told, "No, I don't know anything more." So I didn't think to, when you hear something, you go, "Get about it." I'm sure there's nothing to it. And then, of course, it all came out on, when was it? Sunday night, Monday or whatever. Garrett, what do you make of this? This is nothing new at a football club, is it? When a player's been called out by a coach, a manager, etc.
No, of course it isn't. I mean, the worrying thing, I suppose, is why it took until Monday to come out, and who spoke to the press about it. But then again, there's a lot of moving parts in a football club. In the background, could be anybody. It could be just a throwaway comment by somebody that's found his way to a journalist, or it could be, his new agent, aka I think his family, Kudus. He's moved from the problematic agent to his family, and we know what happened with Arnie. We remember that. That could be something to do with it as well. But again, that's just a conspiracy theory. I think that I prefer to think there's nothing in it. I think Kudus, he frustrated me in that game last week. I don't know if you remember, but there was one shot that he had that wasn't really a shot. It wasn't on. He literally just swung his leg at it, which reminded me of what Paqueta did in the Fulham game, right? The shot weren't on. He swung his leg at it, nowhere near the goal. The worst thing was his reaction. He just sort of, oh, well, so what? And apparently, according to several people, Lopetegui spent the first half screaming at him to pass the ball. And so, from that point of view, I do understand he's frustrating frustration playing on the left. We'd all like to see him play on the right, I imagine, or in the middle. Use him because he's probably one of their, if not the best attacking player. The fact is, he's got to play when the manager tells him to play, in my opinion.
That's an interesting point. I mean, Nigel, what's your take on it before we sort of...
Well, without dropping names, I believe it was KUMB that broke the news that there'd been a disagreement. And as you said, still, that this broke, as far as I remember, towards the end of the game. So there's a few things there. Is someone that witnessed it obviously put word out. the fact that you was straight after the game, someone's already started
putting it out there.
Right.
So for me, I find that a bit, someone in the dressing room has told someone and it's come out straight away. That then starts off the rumour mill. Kudus is obviously one of our better, if not best player at the moment. He had a few good runs, and I was trying to think, because I did watch the game, about, I can't remember instances where actually he shot or he tried to do something when he could have laid it off to an attacker.
Yeah. I think it was Bowen that was free or something. I think it was Bowen.
In and around the box. In regards that, I mean, to take him off at half time, it's almost like a teach him a lesson. Substitution, put him back in his box. It is, after all, football is a team game.
Yeah.
But individuals can win your games.
And he's one of them, isn't he?
And he is one of them for West Ham. Yes. Yep. So,
but if he has fronted the manager out like that in front of the other players, I think the manager's got to make a stand, right?
See, this is the bit I don't know. What happened. I don't know whether he subbed him and he fronted him out, or whether he had a go at him and then he had a. And I don't know if Lopetegui had a go at Kudus and Kudus retaliated and then he subbed him. Right. So I don't know which way around it is.
The first I heard was something to do with an assistant coach.
Oh, okay.
So, and that was on Saturday. That there'd been a spat. But again, it's not. And this is the problem I have with information like that. This coming out is that it's a snippet. It's Chinese whispers. And we're talking about it, We don't know, so we all put our own theories in it, and
Yeah.
and people make their own minds up. Probably every West Ham YouTube or anything podcast has spoke about it. I don't remember talking about it, funny enough, on more than just podcast, but that's maybe because it was just me and Sean, and we make it up as we go along. So, and these rumours just sort of make it 10 times worse than it probably was.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's a nonsense. I think these things happen all the time. Managers entitled to take a player off. I think one thing that I like about this is he has actually substituted all the big stars. He doesn't care who he substitutes, right reason or wrong reason. He's showing that he's the boss, I guess.
I think that's brave, isn't it? I mean, when Kudus didn't come out, when Kudus and Emerson didn't come out, the immediate thought was there's an injury, etc. I think that's what we're all saying to each other on the stands. And then when we heard, there's been something happened, but Kudus's name wasn't mentioned, and then you're still not sort of piecing it all together. And then you start to see what's unfurled, and you say, and then of course the coach came out and said it was a tactical switch. The irony is, it worked, didn't it?
It did. It absolutely did. And you got to say, I mean, I don't know. Can either of you two tell me? Because I didn't really watch the game back, I must admit. And that first goal, I mean, it was obvious what happened. Emerson got caught out, and the attacker got a run on him. Shouldn't have been allowed. I mean, Emerson should have seen that coming, probably. Was it completely Emerson's fault, or was Kudus supposed to be helping to cover?
Well, I think this is part of the argument, wasn't it? Because another theory that I heard was that Emerson had a go at Kudus for not helping out.
Yeah, because Lopetegui made a point of saying after game, first of all, Souček said it was embarrassing because they knew all about that. They knew that they would start quickly. And Lopetegui made a point of saying, we showed them images, we sat them down. We knew they were going to start quickly and try to get an early goal. We absolutely knew it. So he must have been absolutely fuming when they let that goal in after 35 seconds.
Yeah. It must have been embarrassing because, I mean, I'm sure you may have said it, and I know I said it in the preview, that the thing that we've got to watch out for is they hit the ground running, and they did it 2 games prior. And I think, is this boiling down to, Nigel, is this boiling down to the players not doing what the coach is telling them to do? Is that the fury of it? Is that why he was so apoplectic? We've seen him. There's been a few comments over the past few games where the coach has been on the sidelines. Lopetegui's been on the sidelines, shouting, screaming, jumping up and down. He hurt his leg, didn't he, in one of the games because of like the excitement. Is it just simply players are not following his guidance, his orders, his tactics, hence conceding a goal so early against the likes of Brentford?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't actually come out and said that, but I mean, by his reactions, he's very animated on the touchline at times, where he's visibly frustrated by what he's seeing, and then probably the substitution was to do with that. He felt like they weren't doing what he was instructing them to do. It's game 6 of the Lopetegui era. Well, I think we spoke last week, and I'm sure Gary's covered it. It's not only about new signings; it's the existing players learning to play a different way as such. The only thing for me, realistically, is that Kudus has been one of the better players for us this season. If not, actually, he's probably been the best player consistently for us this season. Bowen is a bit below par to the high standards that he set himself, and Kudus has been the leading light in our attacking, which hasn't been great, but it's still been good.
I've got a theory on that, and this is something interesting that I heard the other day from people who analyse the game a bit more closely than I do, but it made for interesting listening, and that is Kudus is very much receiving the ball, getting his head down and running at a defence and trying to beat the entire team exactly like he did when he played for Moyes. And that is not what Lopetegui wants, because lo and behold, when he gets there, there's nobody up to support him. He's on his own. Whereas Bowen has been sacrificing his game to actually lay the ball off and try to fit into the system and try to adapt. So I can't say whether that's true or not, because I enjoy Kudus. I really love Kudus. He's a great player. And I love it when he gets his head down and runs at defences. So, but it's one way of looking at it. And I don't know if that's factual or not. It might be.
Yeah, the thing is I think we're averaging 1 goal a game. I think we've only scored 6 goals, conceded 10, 9 or 10, I think, off the top of my head. So he's still not got to grips with found a way for us to score. I'm pretty sure our shots ratio has improved. Yeah, under the corresponding games and everything to what we under the previous manager. But what is strange is that I believe we've got the worst percentage of shots on target in the league. So I know we only get 25% of shots on target. So 75% of shots are off target. So we're shooting more,
but not on target.
Going
back to your point, Gary, you know, Bowen has always sacrificed his role for the team, hasn't he, though?
Yes.
You know, I mean, you could argue, I'm going to come to your point in a minute about, you know, goals, Nigel, but you could argue that
goals are fun, aren't they?
Well, when they go in, they're fun. Well, when they're off target, they're not. But Bowen,
the person on YouTube that made that comment. But anyway,
Bowen has been, I don't want to say taught, but since Bowen has come to West Ham, he's always been ingrained in being, he's a grafter. He's a skillful grafter.
Yes.
You know, and so he will always sacrifice his game if he thinks it's the right thing to do. But Kudus is not that kind of player. That's not what Kudus has been brought in to do. Is Lopetegui expecting Kudus to play like Bowen? Is that what you're alluding to?
No, I don't think that. So I think play like Bowen, as in try to fit the system. Yeah, there is that, but not necessarily play like Bowen. You're not going to make him the same player. I think it's more fundamental than that, our problems. I mean, I'm not blaming Kudus, because like Nigel said, I think it's been one of our better performers. The first half last week, I disagree with that. I thought it was a bit rubbish. Second half of the first half, I thought it was great. Other than that, his whole season has been pretty consistent, like it always has been. There's been a couple of players who, in my opinion, have really let us down this season. And number one is the one who all the attacks go through, and that is Lucas Paqueta. He's been completely off his game. Yeah, no one doubts the guy's talent, but he gave the ball away 20 times against Chelsea. 20 times, right? And that just can't be a thing, right? It cannot be a thing. He weren't doing that last year. Early on in the season, if you remember, he was played in a deeper role, and he was giving the ball away right outside our own box and kind of setting off counterattacks, which he did several times last year, incidentally. But now he's playing further out the pitch. He's giving away the ball. I suppose he's getting a lot more pressure on the ball. He's giving away the ball a hell of a lot more. But he keeps on playing the same sort of Hollywood passes that he was playing in the David Moyes team. It's another one who is still playing in the mode of David Moyes, I think. He's trying to play, even when there ain't a ball on, he'll try to delicately chip the ball. One that will come off 1 in 100. Yeah. But he's got to be more industrious than that. He's got to get through. He's got to take the right decision. And if the right decision is to play sideways or backwards, that's fine, right? Keep the ball.
So here's a point, because I did earlier on in the season when Thomas Souček was getting so much stick from the fan base, and everyone's saying drop him. We're always going to lose games when. And I did a stats presentation as part of a show, and I had Paqueta. Might have been Bowen. I certainly had Paqueta alongside Souček, and said, ironically, you know, as much stick as Souček gets, he's been more effective over the past season and a half or so than Paqueta has had. And then people have come out with exactly that comment, Gary. Well, yeah, but you'd expect Paqueta to make mistakes because he'll always look for that forward pass. You can't compare because Souček will always pass sideways. And I'm like, well, you can compare, but they're both central midfielders. I do get it, though. You know, Souček won't look for the Hollywood pass.
But still, Paqueta couldn't go to Man City and do that. He won't be allowed.
No, he wouldn't be. No, it's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to retain possession, recycle it until you get the right chance to execute the pass. Whereas playing for West Ham, he thinks, oh, what the hell? I'm just going to fucking have a go anyway, right? Like that stupid shot that was never going to go in that he took at Fulham. That was just lazy. Lay the ball off. So he's not doing anything. Another thing, so Paqueta's fundamental for me. Alvarez has been fundamental as well. He's been diving in like an idiot, like he got himself sent off. I love Alvarez. I love Paqueta. I wish they'd start performing like we know they can. But the last one is the striking position. Antonio, it is a bit pathetic that we've had to start a season yet again with Antonio up front. He's an impact sub now at best. He can only last 60 minutes. He doesn't score goals anymore. He does a good job. He runs around and tries hard and holds the ball up and knocks defenders around like he will. He'll always give 100%. Runs out of steam at 60 minutes. He has to go off. And then we bring on Danny Ings. I mean, without mentioning Duran, that was a bit of a balls up, really, not going the extra mile to get him. I don't know what the truth is behind that deal, whether they wanted too much money at the time or we were just playing silly buggers. I don't know. But Fulkrug so far has gone the way of Scamacca and Haller and been a bloody nightmare of a signing. I just hope he comes good. I hope he comes back against Tottenham and he's got something.
Nigel, your thoughts on? I mean, where do we unpick this? Now, the thing you said about goals, the fan base wanted when under Moyes, the fan base wanted more possession.
Yeah.
The fan base wanted more attacking football. The fan base wanted a whole host of things. And as much as the results are not telling us that, we do have more possession. We do have, like you've just alluded to, Nigel, we do have more shots, maybe not on target. We've got more shots. We've got more possession, but it's not just working out. So what is it that...
No, it is quite, it's quite funny in a way. It's great because you can compare the two Liverpool League Cup games near enough a year apart.
Yeah.
And in one, we had 30% in possession, and in the other, we had nearly 40% possession.
Yeah.
In one, we only had 2 shots all game.
Yeah.
In the other, I think we had 9 shots.
Yeah.
So with the extra percent, we did far much more. So what that says is, even though we had the ball minimal times, we spent more time attacking when we had the ball. Yeah. But the result was still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was the same though because Alvarez got sent off. It wouldn't have been 5-1.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Possibly. We don't know. We can't say for sure. But at the end of the day, we still lost both games 5-1.
Yeah.
There was a part that when at the end the football weren't great under Moyes last season. But when we can sit back now, we can look at his stats, and you can't argue with the fact that in the Premier League we scored more goals under him than any other Premier League manager West Ham have had.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's why last season at times I claimed it seems like the problem with West Ham fans is it's not that we're not scoring goals; they just didn't like the way we scored them.
It weren't quite that. There were some great goals, Nigel. We let 74 goals in last year. Yeah, 74.
I was trying to condense it. When I was saying that, I was trying to condense it down in a one sentence of why are West Ham fans complaining. We don't like the way we score goals, which seems such a fickle thing to complain about. And maybe I was being a bit devious in doing in making that, but that's what it boiled down to me. So now where we are is we've got a different manager. I mean, I made my Arsenal mate laugh today. We was talking.
What
has it got a sense of humour? Oh no, that's Tottenham fan. Sorry.
No, yeah, I don't talk to him. So anyway, where we're talking about football and Arsenal and West Ham, and I said, well, it's typical of West Ham. This is another thing where we can go. What's the West Ham way? We hire a Spanish manager, because they're all the rage now.
Yeah, they're fashionable and trendy.
But we hired a one that doesn't play progressive football.
Basque managers, not Spanish.
Well,
from the Basque region.
But at the end of the day, his passport is Spanish still, like your passport is British, even though you're Greek. We've gone out. If you look at, I bet we would love to play football the way Iriola plays at Bournemouth.
Yeah, we would, and he took 3 months to get going.
Yeah. So if you look at it, and Arteta a Basque, as well, and
I think
he is, isn't he?
I don't know.
And it just seems quite funny that we've gone out and hired possibly the boring Spanish manager, if you get me drift.
Yeah, but I don't know though. We've got yes, he is traditionally the football.
No, when compared to other Spanish managers.
Yeah.
If you look at the way the press spoke about Lopetegui in Spain, it was a bit derogatory in a way.
Guillem Balaguer thinks he's the most exciting Spanish manager, but anyway, let's ignore him.
Yeah.
He look, what he will deliver eventually is a type of football that a type of team that will be defensively very, very rigid and solid. We won't let many goals in. We will have lots and lots of possession, and we won't be tearing forward or passing the ball around beautifully in a progressive way. And it won't be Iriola style. It will be functional. We'll get the ball down, get the ball down quickly, we'll get it forward quickly, and we'll score goals that way. But we need to have a functioning set of forward players before that happens. And we've got to have a functional midfield as well. We haven't got a functional midfield yet either. I mean, what's the best midfield? Can you tell me?
Souček and Rice. Oh, sorry.
No.
Well, look, I'll tell you, at the moment, the best midfield does involve Souček.
It does. I agree. He played well last week. If you're a manager,
and Alvarez,
you can see why managers pick him, Nigel, because no matter what a manager asks him to do, even playing number 10 or play as an additional striker like he cannot do, he'll still try and do it.
He'll go out on there and put his best effort in.
Yeah, but he was good last week. Really good.
Yeah, he's much maligned, isn't he? I mean, I wasn't really going to speak about the whole Souček thing because I think I feel like I've kind of done it quite a bit. I don't know if you have, Gary, but he's much maligned, isn't he? He's like, why? What you just picked up on Paqueta? Paqueta gives the ball away so much, etc. And you may get one or two murmurs of, here he goes again. But he's always forgiven pretty quickly, Paqueta. The minute Souček does a mistake,
I know.
It's like, get him off. What's the manager doing picking him? Why is that? He's been one of our most loyal servants. And as you said, whatever a manager or a coach tells him to go out and try and do, he'll do it to the best of his ability.
Yeah. And unfortunately for him, Moyes did put him in a difficult situation a few times last year, playing him in positions where he was exposed. And he did look very bad at times. That ain't his fault. I felt sorry for him. We were tearing into him quite a lot last year, and I include myself in that as well. But at the same time, I like him as a player. He's a good, honest player who's still got something to give. Unlike his compatriot, I don't think Soufal's got anything left to give. I think he's a busted flush now. But yeah, I think he is, because he was a Moyes signing, I think he's aligned with Moyes. He shouldn't be. It ain't his fault. He's just working hard for the club. That's all he's doing. And I think the accusations of, it's just Moyes in disguise. It's so far from Moyes, this type of football.
Yeah.
It's way different. And there's a bit of an exaggeration about how bad it's been. We've lost to, the teams first, third and fifth in the league, and we've drawn against 2 and beaten 1 away from home that we lost against all 3 of them last year.
Yeah, we're 1 point better. Game for game. Not first 6 games, but like for like. In the same 6 games that we had last season, we were actually 1 point better off, which doesn't get you above 9th at the moment, but it keeps you 9th.
And you got to bear in mind this is the opposite to last season. We had a blindingly easy start to the season last year. This year we've got one of the hardest. We've got playing against all the teams we usually lose to.
Yeah.
Apart from Chelsea, but Chelsea are not the Chelsea of the last few seasons, are they?
No. And jumping forward quickly to tomorrow, in a way, tomorrow when you looked at the fixtures, we're all like, "Oh, we got Ipswich, and it'll be all right."
Yeah.
But now, because of what's happened in the previous home games and everything, that's a really,
it's really tough. It's really tough. It's important.
It is. Yeah. It is, because then you go, oh, we got Tottenham away and Man United at home after that. Though actually, I actually think Man United might be easier to play against than Ipswich at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to be tough. Defensively, they're actually pretty good. They're like, I think stats-wise, even though they got stuffed the first 2 games against Liverpool and Man City, since then they haven't lost. And that's affected the stats over the season. But stats-wise, even including those 2 games, they've still got like the 12th best defense in the league, right? And attacking-wise, they're 17th, so not good. They've got one method of attack, and that is to get down the left, put 2 men to draw the fullback out, get the cross in. And this is going to be a challenge for us tomorrow, because if it's Wan-Bissaka back there at fullback, we might see a similar performance to what he gave in the first half against Fulham, where, you know, how he kind of ambles out because he's happy to take a one-on-one against anyone, literally anyone. He'll welcome them to run at him. But his weakness is he lets people get a bit of space, and they can whip a ball in before he gets to them. So I wonder if he'll stick with Mavropanos tomorrow out there.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. You know, we saw what happened in the second half last week.
Yeah.
And no, Wan-Bissaka looks a better left back than he does a right back at the moment.
He looks brilliant.
He does look absolutely. I mean, when he was flying down that
well, that's handy, because I think Emerson took a knock. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been the Fulham game. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So Emerson took a knock in the Fulham game.
Yeah.
He's not been right since, and then obviously went off, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
it could be that Emerson misses tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you will see, because when Mavropanos came on, I don't know what you guys thought. I looked at it and I thought, oh, 3 at the back. And then it's like, no, it's not 3 at the back.
I thought right back immediately, because he's played there before.
Yeah.
And I was actually asking for him to replace Souček, and I never thought it was going to happen, because he's actually pretty good there. He doesn't have to concentrate on as much playing fullback as he does playing centre back. And because he's got a mistake in him at centre back, he gets attracted to shiny things, doesn't he? And he comes storming out of defence and leaves a hole behind him. Unlike Todibo, Todibow's more calm. At fullback, he looks completely focused, and the guy's a unit, isn't he? I mean, imagine trying to get around him. And
he goes forward pretty well as well.
He does. But he reads the game better. His timing's better. He knows when to, you know, if it's about blocking that guy, I forget his name, the guy that gets the crosses in. But if it's about blocking him, I think he will anticipate those runs better than Wan-Bissaka will. Wan-Bissaka will amble at there.
So has Lopetegui stumbled on a defensive unit now that maybe he wasn't expecting to stumble on? So Mavropanos out on the right, you know, Wan-Bissaka on the left, and I like Todibo. I think he's gonna. I can see why there was a push to get him, because he just looks better and better every time. He looks comfortable, doesn't he? He looks comfortable.
Nothing's gonna worry him, right? He's laid back. Maybe Chris said on my show, he said might be a bit too laid back. I don't think so. I think he's just very, very calm. He's actually deceptively quick. He spots danger. He was kind of famous from the team he come from as being a counter-attack stopper, right? Because as the last line of defense counter-attack stopper, that's what he does. So I feel much more secure with him at centre back alongside Kilman, who's been brilliant, right? So yeah, I think that 4, if we play that 4 tomorrow, it was a bit of an experiment in the second half last week, but bloody hell, it worked with bells. It was brilliant.
So going back to the player that we started off with, and we're gonna look at formation later on when we talk about Ipswich in a little bit more detail. But what do you do? I mean, there's been comments in the chat tonight about he's our best player, play him in the best position. And others
Yeah.
are saying, well, playing wherever. You know, I'm thinking of what I've seen at Man City and the way Doku's been used, primarily being used out on one side of the pitch. And then all of a sudden, I think it was last weekend's game, he was on the other side. Do you play where your coach tells you to play, don't you?
Well,
I'm not going to lie. I've been advocating that he should be starting on the right, or if he's not starting on the right because Bowen's there, then he should be starting in the middle.
But that's the thing. He wasn't bought to play on the right because we had Bowen.
Yeah.
And what happened was, remember, you know, an injury to Antonio then forced boys to put Bowen through the middle, and that really worked because you know, Jared, what, 19 goals was it last season in all comps?
20, I think it wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did he get
Whatever,
20?
whatever. Yeah.
And on 70 minutes, he used to spin them around, didn't he? He put Paqueta up top, I think, and he put Bowen out on the right, and
and the fact that actually where he starts, I don't think it matters because generally, if you look during a game, whoever's on the left and right may swap over just to confuse the attack, like the defenders. So I don't buy into this. Oh, he has to start on the right or whatever. No, I don't think he does have to start. Yes, the manager says to him, right, you're playing on the left today. That's where you play, isn't it?
yes.
And at the end of the day, football is a team game, and especially clubs like West Ham, we have to play as a team.
Yeah. So,
and if the manager wants you to do certain things, he's picking you in your first 11 because he believes in you. We'd like to think so, yeah. So therefore, go out and show him why he's right to pick you.
So, tomorrow then, if he picks him, no matter where, he continues to show faith in him. How is the fan base going to react? I don't think this will happen, but there's a possibility. How's the fan base going to react if he's not in the first 11? Kudus?
Depends if we win or not, doesn't it? If he doesn't pick him and we lose or don't win, they'll be fuming.
Well, when X announces the team at 1:45, and he's not picked, I'd imagine that on Twitter, not that I'll be looking at it, there'll be the general, this is fucking madness. He's our best player. Lopetegui, don't know what he's doing. Get him out. But then when we win the game, people may look at it differently. Personally, if I'm a gambling man. If you was going to ask me what's Lopetegui going to do, I think he's going to start Kudus.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think he will. I think he'll move him. Because, again, Chris made a good point the other night, right? Because I said to him, like, just because he's had a shit fit and he's had a go at the manager about playing on the left. If you want to play him on the left, you'd carry on. You'd insist he played on the left. You're not going to just move him because he had a bit of a wobbly, are you? But then he said something quite. I think it was quite true, actually. He said, if you're a manager and someone's doing that, you might be tempted to say, right, you can go on the right. You better fucking make a good job of it, mate.
Mm.
You know? So, and I think, never been a football manager, but as a manager, I've been tempted to do that a few times. Just say, oh, you want to do that? Go and do it. Go do it. You better do it well, though. So I don't know, though. I don't know. Depends if the tactics, if that comes into it, right? I'd like to see him play. Of all places, I'd like to see him play central, I think.
I've been talking about that this week, Gary. I've been thinking, I've been pushing for him, play Bowen up front. It worked last season. You kind of just alluded to it, Nigel. It worked last season. Scored a lot of goals with, Kudus out on the right. Bowen, because of the injuries, was brought into the middle. But there's no reason to suggest that Kudus couldn't do a job. I've talked about a false number 9. I've been told by a lot of people, no way, but certainly a number 10.
Who's going to feed him the ball? Who's going to feed him the ball? That's the problem. It can't. I don't think it can be Paqueta. How about Soler?
Well, I've been suggesting for quite a number of weeks now that with the fact that Paqueta has not been on form, this guy.
He has been.
I'm seeing him as Paqueta's air.
Again, I don't want to overdo it with the stats because it drives people mad. This guy statistically was fantastic in that second half. The number of balls he won, the number of passes he played, he was brilliant, and it went completely under the radar. Nobody noticed.
Yeah. I think he was very good. I mean, we're talking about, you know, we're talking about how I did when I did a show early in the week. I talked about, you know, you don't always have to pick your best 11 to pick the right team. Now, do you remember this came from the World Cup, wasn't it? When Jimmy Greavesy got injured, and that's how Jeff Hurst got. Fuck me, here's a bit of history, Nigel. I bet you didn't know this.
You reckon?
I bet you
In
did.
fact, I'll go so far as to say that Jack Charlton wasn't the second best centre half in the country, but the reason why Jack Charlton played for England was because Alf Ramsey knew that would free Bobby Moore up to bring the ball out, but Jack wasn't that type of player. He was a defender's defender. So realistically, Norman Hunter was a far better defender for Leeds than Jack Charlton was. But Norman Hunter was more like a ball playing centre half, and Ramsey already had that with Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
So that's why Jack Charlton was in the England team. The same for why Nobby Stiles played.
And a lot of people sacrificed themselves in that team, in that final, by the way, because Bobby Charlton sacrificed himself in midfield, didn't he?
Yeah, man marks Beckenbauer.
Yeah.
So based on that, do modern day coaches, managers think in the same way? I'm beginning to think that Lopetegui may do, where he will say, I don't care what your status is, I don't care what your name is. If you're not the right player for this 11, you'll be on the bench. So therefore, I've got a couple of players in my head. Not some. I think Kudus will play on Saturday. I think, but I'm wondering whether Paqueta will play. I wonder whether he'll start, because you're absolutely right, Gary. You know, in the game against Brentford last week, he came on. He changed the game. Yeah. He helped. You know, not only did Wan-Bissaka change the game by going on the left and Mavropanos coming on the right, but in the middle of the park, Soler actually changed the game. So is Lopetegui's going to come to a point that, you know, everyone's been going on about, oh, he doesn't know what his best 11 is. You know, he doesn't know what he's doing. This, that, and the other. But he just hasn't had them available or match fit.
Exactly.
Fit.
Yeah. 6 games in. And it took 2 games to get Wan-Bissaka back. He's taken 5 games to get Todibo back, right? Several other players. Soler weren't ready for like 3 or 4 games. They've basically been drip fed in, and people were moaning that he had to start with like Soufal and Suchet. It's been a case of having to, you know. Is horses for courses. And also he's wanted to try and, I think anyway, he looks after the whole squad. Unlike Moyes, it was one of the failings of Moyes. He looks after the whole squad. Yeah. And I think it's important when you go into a club, if you're going to do that, to give a bit of respect, dignity to the senior pros who are already there. And I think he tried to do that and have a little bit of consistency.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do find that part when people go, hey, he don't know his best 11. Well, we're 6 games in. He's trying everyone to see what his best 11. You know, this was, I don't know.
Does anyone here, can anyone on this panel say, you know, his best 11? Because I don't know what the best 11 is yet.
I don't know what it is. No, especially with certain players, like we've touched a little bit on Bowen. We've touched on Paqueta. Even Kudus has not been at his best. You know, there's a number of other players not been at their best. You know, so
you know what? Actually, I think I've got a good idea of 9 of them, and it would only be possibly, I might go 10, maybe. I think if I was doing it, I think if he had everybody available, you know, he'd go Areola in goal, Wan-Bissaka on the right, Emerson on the left. I think he'd want a Todibo in the middle, Alvarez and Souček, probably. I know it's funny. I think he will play Alvarez and Souček, and he'll have a front 3 of Kudus, Bowen, and I think probably he'd prefer Fulkrug up top.
What about Paqueta? So Paqueta is the one you're sweating over.
So And this is the point I was trying to sort of get to. It's like you end up, there's going to be one or two players whose noses have been put out of joint. The thing with West Ham, I don't know if you remember, Nigel, I know you and I have talked about this in the past about, when you've got a big squad, and this is a bit like, I'm not suggesting that Moyes was right because the way he did it wasn't right. But when you've got a big squad and you want a big squad of really good footballers who are all vying to be first choices, you're going to put a few noses out of joint, aren't you? And whereas players in other teams accept that, like the Man Cities of this world, or the Liverpools, or teams like that, where they know 1 week they're in, next week they might not be in, etc. They accept it. At West Ham, they don't accept that, do they? If you're at West Ham, you expect to play. But isn't that what we wanted? We want a squad that's going to be competing, which means that one or two of the so-called bigger names are going to have their noses put out of joint, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that risk that possibly, I could see it if Paqueta was spent time on the bench, and I think Alvarez possibly as well, that they may well think I ain't going to sit at West Ham on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, this is the
Kudus
as well.
Yeah. But West Ham, and this is something fans have got to accept. We are not a club that can have superstars sitting on the bench waiting for their 15 minutes like they do at Man City. The reason they do that at Man City is Man City play, because of what they do in the Cups, Man City can play 63 games in a season. So therefore, they know there's a good chance that they'll play in 20, or they'll appear in 30 or 40 of them, either from the bench or start in the Cups. That's the way it works. At West Ham, you're getting 38 league games, and if you're lucky, you might get, well, we ain't got Europe now, you might get 4 cup games in a season, if you're lucky. Yeah. So, and that's what they've got to make do with.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. But I don't think, I think with some players, it's that. With other players, it's they're chasing the paycheck, and that's why they want to be at the big club, not for any other reason. It ain't about the glory. I think that's, having said that, I think with the top players, it becomes less and less important about the money and more important. They're the ones that are driven, that perform to the highest standard every game. Whereas we get the ones that perform maybe 75% of the time. They're not quite the top tier, are they? I agree with that. But at the same time, maybe it's best when a player goes like that and they think they're too big for the club, especially if they're saying it to their agent and people start finding out about it. And this has been rumoured about a couple of players, like Alvarez was pissed off he didn't go to Man U in the summer. Kudus was pissed off he didn't go to Liverpool in the summer. Paqueta, obviously, the Man City move and everything else, but that's no one's fault but his own, maybe. But once they get like that and they're too big for the club, I vote dump them out, get the money and move them on and bring someone in that does want to play for the club and doesn't think they're too big for the club.
It's what you alluded to, Nigel, isn't it? Because we've got to play, or sorry, Gary, maybe you said it. We've got to play as a team, haven't we? It's been over so many years, West Ham has been regarded as a one-man team, the Di Canio or the Payet or whatever. Yeah. We've now got a team of very good footballers, and part of playing as a team is sometimes you've got to accept that you might be on the bench every now and again.
Well, the problem as well, the secondary thing, not to move the conversation on a different area, but Wednesday night I was at an event where Paul Heffer, now people may not know who Paul Heffer was. He was an apprentice in the early 60s with Redknapp, came through, got into the first team, played about, I think, 15 games, not a lot, over 4 or 5 years, but that was because of injury. Mm-hmm. Ended up having to retire, went into youth coaching, got re-hired at West Ham and spent donkey's years as one of the leading youth coaches at West Ham, and only retired recently. And it was alluded that if you look, Arsenal have started blooding members of their youth cup losing team into their first team. Yeah. Well, our boys played them off the park. Yeah. why ain't we? And to be fair, there was 3 or 4 names that he listed that he thought should be sitting on that bench, being blooded into the first team.
Yep. Yeah. I agree with you.
Alford,
I think
Skulls,
But
were 2 of the standard, and the central defender whose name escapes me. Is it not Casey? Is it
Casey,
but I think,
Cordua was another one.
Yeah.
Some of them were very small physically. They were very small physically. I expected Potts to break through, and he's gone out on loan.
Well, that was another one, actually. That was the one. He actually, I think it was Freddie Potts, the one he said was actually, he could be playing. Ready. Yeah.
And Freddie Potts now at Portsmouth, he got his full start, his 90 minutes last week. And the Portsmouth fans are already praising him and going, what can we do to keep him? That's after he's had a game and a half.
But that progression, if he cleans up at Portsmouth like he did at Wickham last year, that is just the same apprenticeship that Bowen served, that Antonio served. Then he gets his chance, surely. Unlike Downs, who's doing well at Southampton, right? Surely he gets his chance in our.
We'd hope so. My only worry is that we've got a change of model the way the club operates, in that we've got a director of football or whatever he is buying players. Yeah. And then we've got a head coach on a 2-year contract.
Who needs to have results now.
Yeah.
To keep his job has to have results, as you said, in the here and now. So therefore, there's pressure on him to play the games, to play the new players, I think, as well. The pressure will come. We all know that, I don't know if I don't believe it's deliberate. We've got people out there that constantly, every day, ask the chairman his thoughts on this and his thoughts on that. And the chairman goes out and replies to these comments with his thoughts and drops in a snippet. And the little snippet this week is, we thought Guillermo would be ready, but he's not.
That's mad. That's mad. He's 18, Nigel. 18.
I know, but then why? And the funny thing is that we've got a youth team full of 18-year-olds that have just won a cup, and I don't know if the kid's good or whatever, but we've gone out and imported one.
Yeah, I didn't agree. I didn't really. I couldn't see the logic in it. I thought he must be special. He must be a borderline.
That's what I thought. And now now the message is, he's not progressing as we thought he would. Well, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
What does that mean, though? Does that mean he's having trouble? He's 18. He's moved country, completely different culture, completely different setup, different training, different everything.
To me, it's like what has been said. Sullivan's got to sign off on it. Yeah. At the end of the day, he is the owner and he's the man to sign the checks. Steiden says, I want to buy this player. They have this meeting that we all know about where like the Politburo, whatever. They sit down. Steiden's the lead. And he goes, right, we've got this Brazilian kid with this thing. This is what he does. Everything. I want to bring him in. Do you want to sign him off? We'll big him up. Yeah. The chairman backs him. Yeah. Now the chairman's, though, looking at, 25 million on an 18-year-old. And he ain't ready to play first.
I'll take anything
football.
Sullivan tells Sean with a pinch of salt. I mean, I can't remember what it was last week, but that was just as disappointing. Oh, that was it. When Loppy took Somerville off, the crowd booed, so it was clear that the crowd loved Somerville. And then it was announced on Monday that that the only one that Steichen didn't sign was Somerville. So I thought I'll take that with a pinch of salt, for Christ's sake. So this week, I'm thinking,
oh, that was a comment.
yeah, I know it's weird though, isn't it? It's fucking weird. And then this.
To be fair, the conversation, and this is where perhaps the people that do the reporting are a bit naughty. Because that question was asked in a different context, but then they used it in that context. If you get me drift.
The royal day, you mean Sean? Sean's been creative.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like it. He's got a big enough head already.
Yeah,
and here we have our next guest on, Sean. Nah.
I don't care. Right, but the Guilherme thing I found really annoying because he's a young kid. He's moved country. He costs a lot of money. That ain't his fault. There was a lot of interest in him. He was getting substitute appearances in the first team over there for the team that he played for. He was, I think he was even on the bench for the Brazil seniors side. This kid he's a talent. That wouldn't happen otherwise. So You know, there must be something about
when
him.
when you see that Endrick, who played in the same team as him at Palmeiras,
Yeah.
who's also the same age or maybe a year older or something like that,
We're signing
is
the wrong player.
actually getting game time at Real Madrid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Guilherme, who, from what I understand, you know, he was under the radar because all eyes were on Endrick. And everyone was like, "Oh, he's great." And Guilherme, apparently, from what I understand, is as good as, if not better than.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it's been reported.
There's another way of looking at it, though. Another
on.
way of looking at it. It could be good man management, right? Everything around West Ham at the moment is a shit show. It's a storm. No matter what happens, it blows up in the media. You got people talking about it. We need a calm part of the season when we're winning a few games and things have turned around.
And then introduce him
from the bench.
Yeah.
Or it's like Reece
Why would you
Oxford
play him
and
now? Go on,
Declan
Nigel.
Rice in the youth team.
Yeah.
And we've just signed Reece Oxford.
Yeah.
Well, I rated Oxford. He just got too big for his boots.
He was good until he got his new contract. He was good.
Well,
Exactly
he's disappeared
that.
in Germany because he ain't played for over a year. He's still listed officially. He's still an Augsburg player. And for the past year and a half, he's been listed as injured with a muscle injury and return date unknown.
Did he sign a new contract a year and a half ago?
I don't know.
Bet he did. Bet he did.
So, he's 24, 25 now.
Oh.
I believe.
I thought he was doing quite well at Augsburg. I'm surprised he's been out for so long.
He's been out for a year and a half.
So Guilherme then. Right player, wrong time. Wrong player, wrong time.
Yeah,
how do we know?
Who can say? People are writing.
I guess what I mean is
they're writing Fulkrug off, and they ain't seen him yet. They've seen him play a bit of a cup game.
Let me rephrase with Guilherme, because of course the noise, I mean, it's ringing in my ears every day. Every time that player at Aston Villa scores another goal.
Duran, yeah, I know.
I didn't want to say his name because it annoys me now because all I'm seeing on social media is if only we got him. If we got him, you know what would happen? He'd have played 6 games. He wouldn't have scored a goal. He would have looked absolutely donkey, and everyone would have gone, "Why did we pay 40 million for him?"
He would have done his real deal. Has it come out that apparently we offered 42 million?
Yes,
we offered 43 million plus a sell-on clause.
Right, that has come out.
It has come out. It has come out. Must admit, I thought the 40 million offer was when we offered money plus player. Do you remember that?
I think, and this is the thing that I'm thinking that I'd take that with a pinch of salt, because conversations I've had was, if that was true, why has it took till now for that to come out? Because I don't. Yeah. Why was the narrative we offered 35 and we wouldn't go above that? Because that was the narrative at the time.
It was.
It was, and I think when we offered that player, I forget, was it Skulls or one of the others? I can't remember. No,
it was Orford.
We rated him at 10 million, and so it was a 30 plus 10 million, 40 million deal. I think that's what they're talking about, and they've put some sort of 3 million on for appearances,
and they're just playing.
Yeah. I think it's nonsense.
I mean, even that was stupid because Alford was offered, and the reason given him was that he'd refused to sign a new contract.
Yeah.
And a member of Alford's team, shall we say, said, "News to us, we ain't been offered a contract."
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he signs a 5-year contract.
They all have. All of the kids have signed new contracts now, so that must mean something is going right. And I did hear a few things about some of them are on. I think Casey's trying to build himself up. They're all trying to bulk up and stuff like that. And because Casey, to me, when I saw him last year, he looked like a really seasoned Ralph, if a bit skinny.
What could be behind it is the change of manager.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I learned in the week was that Moyes actually paid no attention to what the boys did.
Which
we suspected. A lot of people suspected. I didn't suspect it, to be fair. I was really surprised when I had that. But that's and if that is the case, then that's a bad look. And maybe you can see why the likes of Divan were willing to move on. because
Yeah.
they realised they had a manager who just had no interest in them.
Yeah, look, it was well known. And also, we had that brilliant cup run, the kids last year, where they were beating fully grown Arias men's sides,
Yeah.
round after round in that cup. And I went to the Wickham game where they just about lost to an enormous team of men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to his credit, Sullivan, I know it because I was following his car home. Sullivan was there watching them. I don't think Tim was there, but I was really surprised to see no Moyes there. And apparently he didn't go to a single one of those games.
No. And that's love him or hate him, Gal. Redknapp, he knew every youth team player. He knew what they did and everything.
He did, and that is supposed to be a property of Lopetegui as well. I don't know whether it is or not, right? But he's supposed to be taking care of the whole squad and the youth team. There was this story up at Wolves where he took the whole of the first team to watch the youth team.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He didn't use many youth in his first team, don't get me wrong, but that's what as a result of that, he spotted one of the youth players, brought him into the first team.
It'd be interesting to know how many other clubs have a detached youth trainings.
Well, I know Liverpool are lauded for training the under-21s to train alongside the senior team. There are a couple of clubs that do that apparently. Now, I remember when Moyes came in for the second time, my understanding was that he was advocating for the academy players to train alongside the senior players, but that seemed to go completely the other way.
It did. Yeah,
and it's a surprise, really. I just wonder, like, with Lopetegui having only a 2-year deal, with Moyes only having a 3-year deal, etc., are coaches given an opportunity in this day and age to even remotely consider? You've got to be an exceptional young footballer to go anywhere near a senior team now, don't you? For the likes of a West Ham, or
you're more likely to get a game playing for either one of the top sides or one of the bottom sides. If you're in the middle, those sides want to stay sort of in and around that middle, push up to Europe. They're not going to risk it, are they?
Well, if you look at the players that broke through West Ham's academy and established themselves for quite a period in our first team, so you got Declan Rice, very special player, without doubt, he would have gone on. So then you got, Mark Noble. Mark Noble broke into the first team because West Ham had been relegated. Yeah. He got his chance. Alongside Noble, that season, you had Elliot Wald and Anton Ferdinand.
When did Tompkins come?
Tompkins came in. That's true. Tompkins came in after that, wasn't it? So that would have been him and Jack Collison came through 2007, 2008. That's when they broke through.
But again, we've been relegated, so they're going to get their chance. It was a good economical way to use very good players, right?
Yeah. So we went down, and then they established themselves fully in the championship season. So there's a good chance that Mark Noble may have struggled to get into the first team. Yeah. As early as he did to get his chance if we hadn't have gone down. Because if you remember the team before, the season before, that was the too good to go down team, Di Canio, Canute, Trevor Sinclair. If that team hadn't have gone down, it wouldn't have been broke up. Where does Noble go?
No, it's true. It's true. So you're saying it'd be a good idea to get relegated this year? So
well, I'm not advocating it, but what it is that we all dream about academy boys breaking into the first team, and yet when you look at the ones that have done it and actually made it with us, predominantly taking him out, not many have done it that haven't come through when we've been relegated.
No, I agree. And going back to Moyes for a minute and what he did with the youth team, I mean, look, he almost destroyed Ben Johnson. He had mental issues and everything. Yeah. 24 years old, 23 years old, without a position to call his own. Used him all over the pitch. Now he's playing for Ipswich. I think he's getting games every week. Declan Rice, Pellegrini was the one who put him in midfield and persisted with him.
Yeah.
And then when Moyes came back, he was ready to go. He was already first team regular, but Moyes took the credit for developing him. He didn't develop him. I can't think of a player that he did develop, to be honest. I mean, the players, what he did with those kids last year was insulting. I mean, he bought, the kid on the last game who scored the goal. But other than that, they were sitting. Yeah, they were sitting there every week. 5 of them sitting on the bench, twiddling their thumbs. One of them might get, Mabama might get a minute at the end of injury time or something like that, after being made to stand on the touchline for fucking 8 minutes before they came on. It's like the bad old days. That sort of stuff really hacked me off, I must admit.
It is the thing that puzzled me, because I remember, and I got a lot of stick for it. I remember Moyes did an interview sometime before. I think it might have been when he just returned, and he was talking about the Red Bull setup. He was talking glowingly about the importance to have, a balance of young players coming through with senior players, having that right mix, and how he loved the Red Bull model and how he wanted to adopt it, etc. And I remember I did a show and I got absolutely slaughtered for it. What you're talking about. I wasn't saying that Moyes is going to do it. I was saying that Moyes was talking about it. And yet the massive irony is, of all our all our managers in the past, he was one of the few. I doubt very much if Rice if it had taken Rice another year to progress, he wouldn't have made it under Moyes.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. There's no way he would have persisted with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look at managers of the past.
So if Moyes had been rehired after his first 6-month stint, instead of the introduction of Pellegrini, that is a good point. Would Declan Rice have come through?
Yeah, I doubt now that he would. I doubt now that he would. Have we got?
I'd argue that he would, purely because of the fact of how special a player he was. The thing when you throw at Moyes about youth players, he will always point first port of call. Well, I gave Wayne Rooney his debut.
Yeah.
But Rooney was a beast. He was beating men up in football terms at the age of 14 in reserves.
Physically, he was a freak, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was a fully grown man, age 14, wasn't he?
You listen to Everton players that played in the reserves with him, they couldn't believe this 14, 15-year-old was playing reserve football the way he did.
So therefore, bringing it to today's, where we're at today, I think the one thing that I was really, really surprised at was every single one of our really big potential young players have all been shipped out.
Yes.
All of them. I actually did think Freddie Potts would be the one that would remain, especially when we were starting to look at what do we want in midfield. And, when the young lad was sold to Southampton, I thought, okay, well, then that means Freddie Potts is going to... Flynn Downs, yeah. I thought, okay, that means Freddie Potts is going to slip into the senior team. And then I think we're quite late on in the transfer window. Potts then went to Portsmouth. And I scratched my head and went, there's not one player. Okay, you got Orford and you got Scarles that are still in the under-21s, but every other player that you would have half considered, like George Earthy, Callum Marshall, who did, all right, it was an unfortunate loan spell at West Brom last season, but he showed potential. Earthy showed potential, etc. They all were shipped out.
I think Casey's still here as well. And I believe those superstar kids are training with the first team, right? So they're included. As long as the others are on, they might be the exceptional ones. The others might need to go out on loan and go through the system. And I know that like Carlton Cole and Noble and people are having, when they've got involvement in picking the destination for these kids, they're picking the right destination, right? A really suitable loan club. Unlike the kid whose dad took him to West Brom last year, forget his name.
Marshall.
Very bad choice. Bad choice, right? That wasn't done by Noble or anyone. They were against it. But Potts, he's done League One. Now he's doing Championship. You would have thought if he sets it alight in the Championship and does really well, that he'll get a chance next year. Either that or they'll sell him.
Do we have the question I was gonna ask them where we're at now? Is Lopetegui similar to what Moyes was doing with the youth, or do you think? I mean, we just talked about Guilherme. all right, he's been on the bench, but that's only because we've got players injured. That's why he's made it to the bench of 9. Have we got a coach? I mean, here's the irony: he knows about under 21 players. You know, he managed the under 21 Spanish squad and stuff like that
which
to
is why I'm
success as
saying,
well.
yeah, which is why he probably knows how vulnerable they are. And is this really a good time to be playing kids?
Okay.
I don't know. That could be just a wild assumption, right? But typically you play kids when either you're in trouble and you've got no other choice, you know, because you've got a first team squad for a reason, haven't you? So you might have to drip in 1 or 2 maybe when you've got desperate injury crises. That's where they get used, or League Cup games or something.
So therefore, when Liverpool do it and everyone sings their praises for doing it, it's because they're on a roll, because they can afford to do it.
They can put in 3 or 4 who are top kids. Let's be clear about this, in amongst an absolute top team of stars, and they'll carry them in the League Cup against other teams that are not full strength. Don't forget.
Yeah.
They don't do it in the Premier League, do they?
No, that's a good. And that is funny, because that is a good point about the League Cup.
Yeah.
In our predominantly Premier League teams will always play, no matter where they are in the Premier League, always have a reason to play weakened teams in the League Cup. So what happens is that when you are drawn, like we were against the Liverpools, not so much last season, but this season, that Liverpool obviously shuffled their pack because they got European Cup, which is now, you know, even they got 2 more games to play in the European Cup than they had before. So they're definitely going to put out their second string, let's say, the bench players. But then we follow suit, where actually, if we put out our best 11, it may have been a different. Well, I don't know if it.
No. I totally agree. I wanted to put the first team out and try and win that game and knock them out. Why not try and win the cup?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the
Fergie, this is the worst thing that Fergie and Wenger brought to our football, was demeaning the cups, the meaning of the cups.
Yeah.
Let's go to our striker choices.
Oh, shouldn't take long.
I could chop 2 fingers off of my hand and still have enough fingers to count them.
You got 1 little finger.
Yeah.
There's been a lot said about Duran. We touched on it earlier on, you know, and this guy, who we have yet to see play, gets more stick before we know what he can offer.
Yeah.
It's not a player's fault when a player gets injured, is it? A player can't help it. A player gets injured.
When did West Ham fans become this way? Like, before you've even seen a bloody player given 5 or 10 games, you've already decided he's shit.
Yeah.
When did we go that way? When did that happen?
I don't know.
I actually think that's a thing that probably all fans of all clubs, there are fans that all clubs do, because I don't know, without going up again, there's that perception. I think I said it before, is what do you expect of West Ham? You know, let's look back at the Craig Dawson reaction. I remember the Craig Dawson reaction when he got named in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And there were people absolutely losing their shit.
Yeah.
And the fact that I made a point of tweeting, you know, I can't believe fans are reacting like this. Let's see the geezer in a shirt first before we absolutely destroy him. And he was man of the match.
And then he became a cult hero.
One of the best signings ever, pound for pound.
And you know, it's just, and which is good, because it gives us the opportunity to point when people go at Fulkrug. Well, there's the Craig Dawson effect, but then you get people like me on podcasts that, since Fulkrug has signed, I wasn't sure it was the right thing to do.
Right.
I'm not, and it's not so much about how good the player is or whatever. It just, it happened after we were approaching Duran. So
Yeah.
Duran gets dragged out, and it was almost like now it looks like we cut off our nose to spite our face. So it was like we had a hit list, because if we sign Duran, we ain't signing Fulkrug. So it's like we're knocking on the door of Duran. He's done the video with the crossed hammers, which you would have thought would have helped our case.
Yeah.
To be fair, because the Villa fans weren't impressed, and people at the club weren't impressed. So we could get the deal over the line, because it was definite he was interested in coming.
Yeah.
Now we've got different stories, so we've got to try and pick one that we believe. I think we offered 35 million. They said no, and we turned and walked in and bought Fulkrug and moved on.
Which you got to say, they are not two very similar players, are they?
No, totally different.
How the fuck were they number 1 and number 2 on the list? You know,
well,
sure.
does it beg the question about this man? Did he panic?
No,
What then? I mean, he went to.
I don't think he panics. Yeah, I think he has a way of working. You know, he's been brought into West Ham. He's had to deal with Moyes in the first year. He's bided his time. Moyes has gone. It was probably pre-arranged and everything. This is why it was going to go. He probably knew what was going to happen. So he played along with Moyes for the first year, knowing I get full control. He's got full control. Now we're doing it his way, you know, and to the point that, you know, the Sullivan comment of, you know, every player was Sestide and pick apart from Somerville.
Well, we know that's not true, because Kilman was obviously a Lopetegui.
Yeah, and Lopetegui made Tim made that happen to satisfy Lopetegui without a shadow of a doubt. But have you thought that with Fulkrug, Tim signed him once before? He knows the player really well.
Yeah, they had him at Werder Bremen.
Yeah, to him, it's probably not a risk. He's going to come good and score goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Safe bet. That's what I'm saying.
So Nigel, you said he wouldn't have panicked.
No, I don't think it's. I think what it is, it was almost like, because the thing about West Ham is, in the past, you know, we've dragged our wheels to the point where throwing in bids left, right, and centre on transfer deadline day. This was still in June.
Yeah, true.
You know, where the season had only finished 3-4 weeks before, and we were after Duran. You know, Duran was obviously number 1, and actually you can see why now. To be honest, he was number 1. So at least our scouting looks good. You know, and then Fulkrug was number 2, and what they've done is we're going to be quick and decisive. Can we do the deal with Duran?
Okay.
Villa dragging the wheels. No, right. We move on. Fulkrug.
And I admire that. I think that's good. I think that's good management of our transfer window, rather than leaving anything to the last minute and panicking.
If Fulkrug was 26 or 27, I'd agree with you still.
Yeah. But then that goes on to Gary's point of, how do we go from? We know we need a pacey young striker. We know we need a pacey striker. You can be older and you can still be pacey. We know that's what we needed. So going on to your point, Gary, how did we go? Nigel, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of us know the answer to this. How did we go from a Duran type of player to a Fulkrug type of player? That's why I asked the question of, you know, was that a panic purchase? Because, as you said, chalk and cheese, Gary, completely different styles, completely different players. There must have been a conversation between Lopetegui and Steiden at the beginning of the season, or way before, to say, what do we need? We need a right back, a left back, a midfielder, a striker, whatever we needed. What type of player do we want? Lopetegui's going to go, this is the type of player I want. This is the type of striker I want. Hence, Duran. So how did we get to the Fulkrug signing? How did we find ourselves? Surely there must be another striker out there.
Yeah, there must be. But are they proven? I think they felt that Duran had so much potential, it was worth spending the extra money on, but not over the top in their eyes, which now is not over the top, obviously. But Fulkrug, one thing you need when you're in which we just ain't got at the moment, one thing you need in a Lopetegui system is someone to head the ball up front, because there's going to be lots of good crosses coming in, lots of good service. I haven't seen that so far because there literally is no one to aim for. So, but that's the way apparently it will happen. So you can see that from, he's great in the air apparently, Phil Creed. I haven't seen it
Perhaps we
myself.
should have got Andy Carroll back.
Yeah. He could have done a job, Nigel. Could have done a job. But that aside, he plays centrally. He doesn't drop out wide like Antonio. He very rarely goes outside the lines of the 18-yard box, right? He plays down the middle. He holds the ball up brilliantly. He's physical. He upsets defenders. He brings other players into play. He's a very good striker. And it goes back to what I'm saying. Technically, he's brilliant. What I was saying about Stein, I think Stein sees him as an absolute dead cert who will deliver value for money because he knows him. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So, given that he's out injured, who would you now? I mean, we know who's going to start tomorrow. We know who's going to start up front. We know he is. But I hate doing this because I know people are going to shout me down and go, he's our top Premier League goal scorer and all this sort of stuff. He's been a loyal servant. And I don't deny any of that. But Antonio's a bit of a busted flush now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Well, his best days are definitely behind him, but then in any 34-year-old player, their best days are going to be behind him. Especially with strikers, if they're not score, when they get to that age and the goals have dried up, realistically, you got to be looking at moving them on or moving them to the side. So the fact that we're, now, and bearing in mind, he was never a striker anyway when we signed him. He'd never played striker or whatever. And his goal scoring record was pretty decent, actually, when he was a right winger. I mean, if you remember the first time he went up front, I think it was it might have been under Bilic. So the first time he played as a striker, it scored a few goals coming from the right wing.
Yeah.
This was the first season at the London Stadium, or second season. And we decided to play him up front. And I don't think he scored for 8 or 9 games. And then we moved him back out to the right and he scored.
Yeah. 100 goal, like Appy says there, right? 100 goal contributions in his career for West Ham over 10 seasons. I mean, it's and that's why people shouldn't insult him by saying he's shit. Get him out. He ain't. Look at what he's done with his club.
There was a great thing I read, actually. I can't remember where it was. It was this week, and it might have been today, and it was about Souček. And basically, Souček's joint has now crept in. I think he's got 29 goals, Premier League goals.
Yeah.
So Premier League era, I think he's in the top 6.
Yep.
Amazing.
And when you get the list, you get Antonio's got 67, I think, Premier League goals.
Yeah.
Then you drop down to Noble or Di Canio and Noble.
Yeah.
Then below that, I think you dropped down. I think there was Colton Cole.
Right.
Then you got the likes of Souček, and funny enough, right at the bottom, I think amazing. Souček was level was Freddie Canute.
Bloody hell!
And you think Canute only played 3 years for us, didn't he?
Yeah, look, he was a great player.
And what that to me actually highlights how shite we've been in the Premier League up front. Because a lot of those players weren't even strikers.
Well, we have been shite up front under Golden Sullivan.
Yeah, just generally. Yeah, but generally,
so many shit strikers. Honestly, so many.
If you look at that list, I don't even think it was top 10. But I think Canute had about. I don't know if it was. He might have been. Souček might have joined Canute on 29. Or something.
What it says here is maybe, but he's got to be good in the air as well, right? Pace would be nice to have, wouldn't it? I think if you have full crew with pace, right, and age 28, it'd be worth about 70-80 million, right? We've got the 31-year-old version with no pace, so he's worth probably 20. We overpaid for him. He's probably worth about 21, 22 million. But in the Euro Championships in the summer, a lot of the pundits, don't forget, the top pundits in this country were absolutely blowing smoke up his arse saying how good he was. This player is not shit, right? He will do a job.
We just need him to go on a run, don't we? So when it comes to the games coming, I mean, he's going to be out, we understand, until after the next international break, which is looming. Fucking
he's coming back for Spurs then, is that right?
Spurs, apparently he'll be back for. I'd love for him to get his first goal and winning goal there.
That is a way to become unshit overnight in the fans' eyes, right? Become a hero.
Well, yeah, I mean that works for my ego.
Yeah.
Who was, shit, but then pops up with a winner at Spurs in the League Cup. So yeah, I don't know. It was funny because I remember when he went off injured playing for Germany, and we were talking with Sean, might as well name him, and Sean's like, "Hey, you'll only be out one game. Ain't as bad as you think." I went, "Oh, don't know about that, Sean. I think you'll find he'll be out for a good month." No, it's one game. I've been told. Oh, right.
As accurate as all his other recent reports.
Yeah. I think you need to.
Boy, don't knock him. He's my source.
Yeah, I know.
Get a new one.
Get a new one. Yeah.
So therefore, then, would you start Antonio up front tomorrow, or do you change it? I mean, he's not delivered. I'm going back to the first player we spoke about tonight, and I suggested that maybe playing him as a false number 9 or something like that. Because the criticism that Kudus has got is he's got his head down, he's not looking up, he's not being a team player. But you want that bit of greed, don't you? As you in your striker, give the ball to him, let him beat a defender and smack it in.
If you're playing without a striker, if you're playing as a false 9, which, it's just a team without a head, if you're going to do that, then why not? Why not? I'd rather see that, to be honest, at home to Ipswich than see Antonio toil for 60 minutes.
But he will toil for 60 minutes, won't he?
But he'll have more impact coming on for the last 30 minutes.
I agree with that.
I mean, why not put Souček up front?
What's your man?
No. I'd rather have Kudus up front. But
listen, anyway. John Lyle used to love putting a centre half up front.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, look, Mavropanos used to be a striker.
He did. He started life out as a striker.
Yeah. I don't know when. Was that when he was in a youth team, or was he played in?
I think it was. I think it was the academy. I don't think he's ever played a senior game.
He was under 9s.
So it's like Rio Ferdinand used to play as a striker. Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to tomorrow, because Ipswich are no mugs, and they had a good result against Aston Villa last time out.
Yeah,
and they got 1 or 2 decent players, haven't they? But there's one player that we have got to talk about, because he could become our nemesis tomorrow, and that, of course, is Calvin Phillips.
Dear God. Just can you imagine? Chris said to me the other night he's going to put 20 quid on him to score, because nothing has ever been more inevitable. I agree with Chris.
How do you? I mean, I'm laughing, but it's a nervous laughter rather than a dismissive one.
I am tempted to put a tenner on him. Don't want to.
Nigel, is he going to have the game of his career tomorrow?
No.
Thank God someone's got sense.
No. He's going to be. Listen. He's going to go out of the London Stadium. And I imagine he'll play exactly through Ipswich how he played for West Ham.
Is it give it that? Is he going to give it that to the fans?
So
I'm going to be honest. I've not seen him play, and I've not seen Ipswich playing. I've only sort of seen that the details. The reports.
He'd have been better off going back to Leeds. Let's put it like that.
Yes, he would.
Do you reckon? Has he not been that good then for them?
I don't know. I since he's left Leeds, I mean, he'd done nothing at Man City, did he?
I'll have to have a look at the stats. You know?
And then
Let's have a look at the
he
stats.
comes to us.
Yeah.
I think he's only played for a handful of games, and he's not played in every game. I don't know if has Ben Johnson been playing for Ipswich.
No, he ain't been playing every game either. Yeah,
Has he not?
Yeah.
And which is quite ironic. You know, he turned us down because he left us because he wanted first team football.
Yeah.
And if you can't get in the Ipswich team,
yeah, it'd be ironic if he finds himself playing at centre half and midfield and stuff like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. For 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Bring back Moyes. He was absolutely right the first time round.
Well,
why did we let him go?
So the thing that worries me about Ipswich is that they're a team that generally predominantly are the team that came up through the divisions, so they're used to playing together.
Yeah.
And I think we're still not a team like that. You can still see we sometimes in our play we look a bit like strangers, and then they've got a style of playing. The manager plays sort of progressive attacking football. They will, and we've seen that sometimes our midfield can go missing, and there is a worry for me that we could get overrun.
I'll tell you what, right? Calvin Phillips has played 2.5 90s, right? 90 minutes. He's played 228 minutes over 3 games. Now, Ben Johnson has played 1.5 90s, 133 minutes over 3 games. Both of them. So Calvin Phillips has got an XG of 0.0. He's not expected to score a goal.
No.
That's going to be good odds, I reckon.
West Ham United, hold my beer.
I don't. Yeah, I still don't. Yeah, it'll be quite funny. It was funny. I said I was talking to Arsenal, mate, and I said the funny thing is, what do you think? I said the funny thing is, I said the devil in me thinks it'd be good to see what the fan reaction would be if we lost to Ipswich. You know, because I am the type of person that can sit back, and I do enjoy watching a good fan meltdown.
Yeah.
And you know, because you know there is the part of me that thinks it'd be quite funny, you know, just to sort of finally wake people up that we ain't, you know, we ain't this great team. We should, you know, the fans that demand we finish top 7 every season are, I don't like saying, you know, it's good to, you know, it's good to, you know, I want West Ham to win every game, but I understand we won't. So I want West Ham to win the league, but I understand we won't. I'd love West Ham to finish in Europe, but I do understand the chances are we won't. You know. There
was a cracking, I don't know whether it was a tweet or a Facebook post or whatever, but it was a conversation about Lopetegui and, you know, how can he prove himself and turn it all around, even though he ain't done anything really wrong yet, other than get the tactics wrong once, right? But this guy made a statement. He said, the only way you can turn it around is to either win the FA Cup or qualify for Europe.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, and this is it, is that there's a few things here. As I like to say, you know, David Moyes, we got to stop going on about Moyes. We've got to leave it past. Right, which is true, but he is a yardstick because actually he did win a trophy. He had us in the top 10.
Did he? I never know.
He had us in the top 10 3 out of 4 seasons.
Barely been
He's
mentioned.
the first West Ham manager to lose his job after finishing in the top 10. The only way you used to lose your job being West Ham manager was to either relegate the team or have us in relegation trouble. Yeah. And that's how you lost your job.
Yeah, I think things have moved on since then, though. I mean, there was times I was slipping into a coma last year. It has to be said.
No,
Some of those games.
I get it. The football was really poor.
Yeah,
and some, I think, Moyes in a way as well. I think there was almost like the Allardyce arrogance in him.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't care. So it was like he deliberately made it look worse, because we never played like that in the first 2 or 3 seasons under him, the way we did last season, and to be the only team in the Premier League to play football without the ball,
Yeah.
It's a major feat.
It was appalling, and the worst thing was we had the likes of Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen, and things like that, and you're sort of thinking, oh, how can you just give the ball to the opposition? Let's get those players on the ball.
Yeah,
similar to the way we're thinking now, right?
Yeah,
but we've got those players again this season, haven't we?
I know.
They're not doing well at all. I mean, someone mentioned earlier on, what do we think about Bowen not making the England squad? But I've been saying for a few weeks now, Bowen doesn't look like. I mean, someone made a valid point on my Monday show where they said Bowen takes 3 or 4 games to get into the season before he's up and running. It's now 6 or 7 games and he's not really up and running. And it's no surprise that he lost his place in the England
Who took
squad
his spot? I must admit, I've not seen the England squad. Who's in?
Solanke.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, it's a temporary manager. It's a temporary manager. Who cares, right? He'll be back in.
I think you'll find he might not be a temporary manager, for one.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. 2, I am surprised he got dropped, because the times he's come on the bench, I mean, he's been really unlucky for England with some of the goal scoring chances.
Yeah.
That saves. He's hit the target constantly. He's come on and livened England up at times with his direct running.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And so I am surprised. I suppose they want to look. I mean,
I think it's
Solanke
fine.
Scored, but
give him a rest.
All his goals have been tap-ins, and 2 of them have been where the keeper spilled the ball in front of him and he's tapped it in.
Well, people have alluded to that, you wear the right football shirt, you end up getting picked for England, and hence why someone like Solanke's been
James Maddison.
Yeah.
Average.
Wears the same shirt though as Solanke, not been picked. So you can't buy that argument.
I don't know. I don't rate.
Solanke is a totally different type of player. I don't know what the other strikers are to Bowen. So maybe Carsley thinks, I've already got someone like Bowen. Let's go with Solanke, see what difference he brings.
Maybe.
Has he genuinely started looking at Bowen as a striker, though? Because he ain't a striker. He's probably the best right winger he's got.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Well, it's not Bowen's fault he's been used as a striker. I think on his game, he's better than Saka.
I don't know. I wouldn't agree with
that.
They're a different type of winger, aren't they? They're a different type of winger.
Yeah.
I think Bowen's more of a goal threat.
Yeah.
Than Saka.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree.
Yeah.
So Bowen, I mean, let's get on to who we'd pick tomorrow. Let me just share my screen. I don't know if this.
I always enjoy these still.
Well, you don't. You do. I don't, because they're pretty shit. And especially when you can't find the. Is it there? It is there. Why? There it is. I knew I'd find it. Right. This is the team that I would like to see tomorrow.
Fucking hell, my eyes are bad still. I can't bloody read that.
Yeah. Hold on.
Let me read it out to you.
I'll make it bigger. I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting that you said Emerson. I went for Emerson initially because I thought, maybe, he might still be fit. But I've got Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman and Emerson, Soler, Alvarez, Paqueta in the middle. And then Bowen, Kudus in the middle as a false 9, and Somerville. Yeah. We haven't spoken about Somerville much. What's your thoughts on Somerville? I think he was really unlucky to get not dropped, but not be in the team against Brentford last week.
I think with him, right, when I first saw him, I thought he's way too lightweight. I thought he's nowhere near physical enough. But having watched him in recent games, he's really surprised me because he's got massively quick feet, right? And he ties defenders in knots. I think I really like him, and I think it's just a matter of time until he takes one of those chances and grows in confidence. I think that his size is actually a good attribute rather than a negative. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if would it slow him down, Nigel, if he bulked up? That's what I'm saying.
It didn't really slow Antonio down, did it? Because Antonio bulked up.
Antonio
he did when he
over
massively bulked up.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Somerville. There's a bit of me that worries. There's a bit of the Ben Rama about him.
A few people have mentioned that. I think there's a little bit more about him than Ben Rama. I think I think
is he going to score though? Is it? This you know, is he going to? Has he? You know, I feel bad. Has he set up any goals? I know off the top of my head, he's done some nice things. Yeah, but if it don't lead to a goal,
but then you could argue that Paqueta.
No, my big criticism of Paqueta, I think it's like 15, 16 games now since he actually played a part in any goal. And you can do all the tricks you like in the middle of the pitch. If it don't lead to a goal, you're wasting your time with us, mate.
Nobody loses a ball as beautifully as Lucas Paqueta.
Yeah,
really. It's a Brazilian flair, right?
Yeah, to lose the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, still, I'll pick you apart straight away.
Go on,
because you've gone down the same road. You've been disrespectful to the man that, in my opinion, should be captain of West Ham, and that's Souček.
Okay, so who would you? Okay, you tell me your team. Who would you take out of there to put Souček in? Because I think that's a good shout.
Well, the thing is, you don't really want to play Soler, Alvarez, and Souček.
Right. Well, Soler can be an attacking midfielder. You know, he started.
Well, then I would, because I would probably jettison Paqueta for Souček. Maybe I wouldn't line it up as a 4-3-3.
What would you do it as? 4-2-3-1.
4-2-1-3.
4-2-3-1. I agree with that. At the moment, I would play. I'm expecting Alvarez to go back to the old Alvarez tomorrow and stop being a prick. Stop diving in all the time. Right. So for that reason, I'm going to trust him. And that is what I'd go with. That is exactly what I'd go with. Apart from maybe, depending on how Loppy feels about Paqueta, I might use Paqueta on the left instead of Somerville. I don't know.
So I'd go. Actually, what if I was dropping Somerville, I'd put Kudus out here and put Antonio right.
So, are either of you dropping Somerville?
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah, I would. I don't think I'd start him.
No. Against Ipswich, I would, because they're not a top side, even though they've got some good results recently. I think if you're going to have success against anyone, it's going to be against the team that the likes of Ipswich. They're strong down their left from attacking perspective. I don't know where they're strong defensively, but I would, let's hope it's not down their right. I would try Somerville out there. I really like a natural left-sided player, or albeit a right footer, a left-sided player playing on the left. I like it. So I would put Somerville out there. I would be tempted to play Kudus in the middle with Soler behind. Alternatively, Bowen in the middle with. I'd like to see Antonio out the team. I really would.
Nigel, Antonio starts or doesn't start?
I think Lopetegui will start him.
I think he will, but I agree with you, Gary. I with the greatest of respect to him, I'd prefer him not to. So you see the dilemma that Lopetegui now has. He's got what we talked about earlier on. He's got a number of decent players that he can select from. I actually personally think, if there's anyone that is going to drop out, it is going to be Paqueta, even though I put him in my starting lineup originally. Yeah. He's not going to start Kudus in the centre, even though I prefer him to do so, which means that he's going to go for Antonio. Does Ings deserve to start?
He's not going to start. Ings is all right as a late substitute, but again, it's only all right. He can't start games. He's similar to Antonio. He's about as effective when he starts games.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember there were 2 articles this week. You know, some insider at West Ham saying in January we've got to sell Antonio, and oh, by the way, we've got to sell Ings as well. They don't think it's Premier League quality anymore.
Well, neither of them are going to be sold because in the last year of their contracts, and they'll just walk away for nothing at the end of the season.
Yeah, but what does it leave us with? I mean, we have even fewer strikers, right? Not that they're strikers, really.
Yeah.
Well, we got to. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing is, because of the transfer dealings that we've done already, we haven't got the finances in January to do anything.
Unless we sell a big player.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think, to be fair, funny enough, the one player I think the club would like to move on, reading between the lines, is Paquetá.
Yeah.
But he ain't going to go.
He might be moving on somewhere. I mean, I think, well, he's either going to be banned for life or he'll end up going back to Brazil, won't he? Depends when the case is.
Yeah, I think the club would love to have this over and done with. I don't know if the FA are too busy with the secret Man City trial that's ongoing that you don't hear anything about.
Well, apparently, the hearing is going to be held by 3 independent people anyway, outside of the FA.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, a lot has been said about Kudus being at the Arsenal's Champions League game, and then of course, the Arsenal fans are creaming their pants in thinking that he's going to. Could he go in January?
Well, they wanted him. They nearly bought him before we did. Do you remember that meme? Do you remember that meme that was out there?
Kudus was at Arsenal's Champions League game.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the photo of him at the game.
There was a joke there, which I did actually resist making. I'll tell you off air. But anyway.
Anyway. I don't know what the joke is, but it ain't going to be clean. That's clearly
I don't like that at all. I agree with Mandon on it. I don't like that. Why would you go and watch another London side, especially one that's just spent last season winding us up?
Well, I don't mind him going, but don't be photographed for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, go in disguise. Yeah. It's mad. It's just like clearly don't really care that much what people think, does he?
No, he doesn't, does he?
But players don't. At the end of the day, and this is another thing that, you know, it's funny when you listen to old pros, like really old ones, because there was 2 Wednesday night. Both came through the academy at West Ham.
Yeah.
One had grown up a West Ham fan, the other one hadn't. Though he became to love West Ham because he joined them as a youth. The thing they say now is that the disconnect between players and supporters is, you know, because of the money, and you know they're not mercenaries, but there's no love for the club at all. You know,
not at all.
And they struggle with that because these were players that, you know, probably could have earned more money selling cars in a car showroom, but they didn't. They joined West Ham and played football.
But this is part of the problem in signing players of the profile that we sign, because we sign them just before they get big. They come to us, they use as a platform to show themselves off. Like Kudus looked last year. Now, no one's in any doubt of his quality. Yeah. Same with Alvarez. They know how good they are, and everyone knows how good they are. So they're going to get a move. They know it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. I think perhaps we just end up keeping these players a little bit too long.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you know, it would have hurt to lose Kudus this season. But right now, I'd rather have 80 million in our pocket and a new striker and God knows what else, right? But it didn't happen. But
if the club did that deliberately, to reverse that, if the club did that deliberately, bought players, to put in the shop window, to sell for more money, to then recycle the same like MO, if that became a thing that West Ham did, would you be happy with that?
Isn't that why Stidens come in? Isn't that the way we're going?
This is the way Spurs built, right? This is the way Spurs built. You know, all those teams, even, you know, Spurs had a quite a few expensive players that they let go. Bale and the other guy who had the heart attack, forget his name, but they
Ericsson.
look, they went out and they invested in a load of players, didn't they? And they kept losing their best one. They even lost Kane recently. So it's not just us that does it. I know what you're saying. Keep them for a season and get rid of them. I think the trick is it doesn't really matter how long you keep them. You got to sell them at the right time, and that's the art is calling the right time. And the only way you'd know that is to know the players or be around the players and hear what they're saying. And you'd know, for instance, that Arnautovic, when his brother became his agent, he was an absolute pain in the arse. And we kind of knew what was going to happen there. We kind of knew what was going to happen with Paqueta, but it got stretched out for ages and it became embarrassing. Rather just nip it in the bud, take the money, move on, go and get someone else, because I've already accepted none of these players are going to play for us forever. But when they're talking about fans and being disrespectful for fans, we know they don't love the club. But for fuck's sake, if you still play for the club, at least pretend to love the club. Pretend to show some respect. And that ain't even pretending going to watch Arsenal.
Or cuddling Pep Guardiola.
No, it isn't. That's pathetic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That is disrespectful.
Unless he was cheering for whoever Arsenal was playing that night.
Well, no, he went to see what's his name? Thomas Partey. What's his first name? Whatever it is. His Ghanaian compatriot who plays for that was the story. But whatever reason, it didn't look, especially after a day or two after the whole issue came out about him having an argument with Lopetegui. It just wasn't a good look, was it really?
Not at all.
All right. I've got a couple of ones that I've saved, couple of comments. I know we and other teams rely on the forward line for most of the goals scored, but who else in our squad do you think we may be able to rely on this season going forward? We kind of discussed that, but I guess that's the question why I was asking about, do we play Kudus up front or do we go back with playing Bowen up front? Or does Lopetegui stick with Antonio whilst he's waiting for Fulkrug to come back? It goes back to that question of who plays up front today, on Saturday.
But who else in the squad, who else in the team on the pitch is capable of scoring a goal as well, right?
But we were good at this, weren't we, for a couple of seasons without, strike. We were spreading the goal load from Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus, and so on. So who up front? Let's say for argument's sake, all our three strikers were out injured. Who would you put up front at the team that we currently have?
Bloody hell, that's a tough one. That is a real, you're talking about the three strikers. You're including Bowen in that, right? You're Bowen, Ings, or you Fulkrug, Ings, and Antonio.
No, I'm not including Bowen. I'm including Ings.
Well, it would be Bowen. It clearly would be Bowen. It's the only option as far as I'm concerned. Or maybe Kudus, we've never seen him there.
Yeah, Kudus. Funny enough, and that's the thing I've always been surprised at, because Antonio is very similar to Kudus, head down, run at players.
Yep.
And so I'm surprised that West Ham, or I'm surprised Moyes actually never really pushed Kudus into that role.
Yeah,
or give him
I guess this is what I'm angling at. It's what I'm angling at. If people are saying Bowen is best out on the right rather than up front, and if we don't have, and if our strikers ain't doing it, is Kudus worth that gamble?
Yes.
Well, when you think back to some of the goals he scored last year, he was receiving the ball with his back to the defender, sort of on the half turn. It's kind of striker stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Quick one for Nigel. Has Nigel got his own West Ham museum?
No, but he's got the former players' tunnel from Upton Park.
Has Nigel got his own West Ham museum? Of course I have. But I'm the only one allowed to sit in it. Well, that's not true, actually. Yeah. Is it, Gal?
No. So... coming around your ass soon. Yeah.
So, the other day I had a German and an American sitting in here.
Bloody hell.
Invaded.
Depends But yeah, if you ever did the
Yeah.
Upton Park tour, the ground tour, you would have walked down the tunnel and you would have seen that thing on the wall behind
Yes.
Nigel in the players' tunnel.
Don't ask Nigel how he got it, but he's got it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
there's a
isn't it?
story behind everything.
Yeah.
I've got other stuff from those that are new. I've got a lot of stuff from Upton Park. I must admit that one thing I do look at when I'm around the stadium is that I'm in a WhatsApp group. Gary knows this. I'm in a WhatsApp group with loads of other football club historians.
Yeah.
So I'm in a WhatsApp group with and like not Premier League, actually Football League.
Yeah.
And it is amazing the amount of lower league clubs with museums.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what they display, and it's great to see what they do. But the funny thing is, a lot of it is done with the club.
Yeah.
So, and just today, it turned out that Trevor Francis's collection is now being up for auction.
Yeah.
So there was chatter amongst the Birmingham and there was no one. I don't think there's anyone from Forest, but QPR were looking at some of the stuff, because it turns out Trevor Francis, when his wife died, he fell out with his two sons.
Oh.
So he left everything to his sister.
God.
Some of this stuff that's being sold off, you would have thought, and this is what the chatter is, that I think some of them were hoping the clubs would step in and buy them. Some players, high profile, offer their stuff to West Ham. Now, what's happened in the past is players did that to West Ham. So Jeff Hurst sold some of his stuff to West Ham.
Yeah.
Martin Peters did the same. Brian Deere, West Ham bought Bobby Moore stuff.
Yeah.
What's happened is they opened the museum when we built the new stand in 2001. But they never. The thing about a museum that makes you keep going back is that they change things.
Yeah.
The thing with the West Ham Museum is for 5 years it was exactly the same. I went in it twice, 4 years apart, and it was the same thing. Nothing. You have to rotate what you display.
Yeah.
And West Ham never did it, so people stopped going in there. I believe there would be an appetite for a West Ham museum.
I think they would.
It unfortunately, or whatever, realistically, I suppose, it needs to be near the stadium to get the footfall, either before a match, after a match, and really, one of the best ones I see is the Sunderland one, which is across the road to the Stadium of Light. I think it's in a house, but it's run by Sunderland fans. Yeah, and there's a bit of me that thinks, well, that's something I would love to get going, and the way you do it is a lot of this shed I would donate to the museum. I would retain ownership of it. Yeah, but and a lot of museums do that, innit? A lot of museums have stuff, and so I would go out to other West Ham collectors. And say, right, what have you got? What can we display and work on it, and then bring in the players as well. Because the problem is, I think the players, especially, if you look, I think Jeff Hurst and the Martin Peters family, they look at what West Ham did, and they purchased this stuff, displayed some of it.
So they sold it all, didn't they?
Sold it. Well, they didn't sell it all.
Yeah,
they didn't sell it all.
Right.
But it's in storage, because the problem is there is nowhere, because we don't own the stadium. I mean, Charlton have got a museum in their stadium. It's not big. It don't have to be big. It's probably twice the size of my shed from the photographs I've seen of it.
But there's got to be some space in that stadium to build a little structure that you could pay peanuts for. To the landlords.
Even if they did it in the club shop, Gary, even if they decided to put an area in the club shop.
Well, they could give over the ground floor.
Yeah.
But West Ham ain't going to do that, because the way they look at
the coffee shop. The coffee shop. Yeah, it's a waste of space. Yeah, it's a waste of space.
You
No
could
one goes there.
you could make that a museum, but the problem I would have with that is that those that know me know that I will never deal with the club while it's owned by these people.
Yeah.
So I would never offer my services or whatever or anything that I've got. They're not having back.
Here's a question for you, Nigel. Is the background in your shed going to be on you Tifo for the Bobby Moore stand?
No.
Only if they can raise the money.
And Mark Wiltshire says, rumor has it, Nigel, that Stell has posters of Big Sam stashed under his bed.
He does. I've heard
If anyone's got posters of Big Sam stashed under his bed, it ain't me, it's Nigel.
Nigel has denied it a lot at Love.
He has denied it. But,
well, funny
denial, what is it? He who denies too much or whatever that
exactly.
phrase or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nigel, I've still got my 1981 West Ham annual with you, Nigel, as the mascot walking around the team.
Do you want to see it? So, right, it's not 1981, it's 1982 annual. I'm not being picky.
Oh, there you go. Got it wrong there, Andrew.
Right. So, this is the book. So, let me just flip through. Where is it? I think it was towards the back. Oh, right, here it is. And there is the picture of me walking out with the team, Bolly Bonds across, and I'm shaking hands with Di Davis, who was the Wrexham goalkeeper.
Who got sent off for what was it? For the handball that Pop Robson done, wasn't it?
Yes. Not in that game, obviously, years before. Yeah. But yes, and Dive Davis shook my hand, which I was very pleased about because obviously I was a goalkeeper even that age.
Oh yeah,
and I can still remember the words that Dive Davis said. Well done, Boyle. Was
that what made you become a keeper then?
No, I was already a keeper before then. The reason I became a keeper still was because I was the fat kid. You can go in goal.
And goal. Mandan asks, any history shows on the way with Gary and Nigel?
Oh, funny you should say that. Maybe. Yeah. No, we're working on it, but you have to have patience. These things take time. We try and do them properly. You know, it's take a while. It'll take a while. Be worth the wait. Though.
It will be. I tell you what.
Be worth the wait.
I think it will. Not. I think. It's not just with me. It's another person. I won't. If Gary wants to know, I'm not going to name Jock.
Well, it's Nigel's rival, deadly rival in the history world.
Gary's trying to make it. Unfortunately for Gary, me and the other historian seem to be getting on rather.
I know, it's bollocks, isn't it? I wanted you to hate each other.
To the point we actually ganged up on him Sunday.
I can't fucking. Oh yeah, can't.
Gary came up with an idea, and me and the other one looked at each other and went, "No."
Yeah. I had this spreadsheet. Still, it was massive, right? Full of big plan. By the time we left, it was like 5 lines long. They killed it.
You've got to know, Gary. You might have to do it on the hoof rather than planning it.
This has to be planned, but it's been done.
It has to be planned.
This will be.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be really good.
Good. It's something that I don't think any other YouTube channel's done.
No.
And hopefully everybody will enjoy it.
I think the funny thing is, I expected, it's silly really. If I thought about it, it made logical sense exactly the way you two get on because you've got a monumental amount of knowledge going around inside your head. And so what happens is they're kind of finishing each other's sentences. It's a bit uncomfortable for me still.
Do you want a little bit of history, magic?
Go on.
Are we done? So I've got.
We can close off. We can before we go for what the score will be. We can close off on the history magic. Go on.
So it's stuff that I found recently. It opens a window in how transfers were done back in the day. And basically what happened is that nowadays you've got the Bosman. So players will deliberately run their contract down.
Yeah.
when they leave, the clubs will pay them the transfer fee to the player as a signing on fee, and everything goes to the player. Well, with pre-Bosman, actually what happened is when you ran out of contract, the club still retained your playing certificate.
Yeah.
And or registration. And to release the registration, therefore, there had to be a tribunal. And that would agree the transfer fee, which the transfer fee is for the player's registration. So there was no free movement, I think, until the Bosman. What was the Bosman? 94, 95, was it? I think it came in.
Yeah.
So until that had happened, players had to go to tribunal. I didn't realise one such player that went to tribunal was Tony Gale. So when West Ham signed Tony Gale from Fulham, his contract was up. So what West Ham had done is they had to go to tribunal. Now West Ham had to have an offer, and then what Fulham wanted. So this is a letter. It's a photocopy. It's an internal Fulham letter. So you can see at the top, Fulham. Yeah. And what it basically says is that Ray Harford was the Fulham team manager.
Yeah.
He said, I spoke to John Lowell last night regarding our fee and informed him that our asking price was £350,000. However, in order to elevate the necessity of tribunal, we would accept 250,000 plus the balance of either 50 or 100,000 if he played for England. Right. So what Fulham was saying, we think he's worth 350, but we'll take 250 plus add-ons. This is where it gets good. John Lyle says he'd spoken to Gordon Taylor at the PFA and discussed possible fees, and said, though, he thinks the tribunal fee would be £175,000. So we're going to offer Fulham £125,000.
Brilliant.
So I'm still looking through all the paperwork.
So what happened eventually? Did it go to the tribunal?
It did. I think it went to tribunal, and I think the fee was around £200,000.
Oh, wow.
So
almost right then. He was 25 grand out then. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I've also got
75
is,
grand out.
I don't know if it weren't even the days of fax. What was before fax? A telex or something?
Yeah.
So this is from the Pecci group of companies.
Yeah.
And basically,
Jack Pecci and all that.
Jack Pecci was a director of West Ham. So, but quite why his company has sent the telex, not even West Ham.
Yeah.
And it's attention to Mike Foster of the Football League to say Anthony Peter Gale, formerly of Fulham, has been medically examined and we are satisfied with his fitness. So that's the document to the Football League. Tony Gale's passed his medical.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you get all this stuff from.
You've
got to be very dedicated to be looking for stuff like that and coming across your way.
The other good one that I've got is also what went to tribunal was Mark Wald.
Where did we sign him from?
Mark Wald come from Oldham.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah. I remember.
So, and what we've got here is the transfer agreement from Oldham.
Right.
And can you see the prices there?
It's difficult to see that.
Right, okay, I'll read it out.
10,000.
So basically what West Ham have said is we're going to pay £237,500 for him, plus VAT though. Yeah.
Plus VAT, yeah.
197,500 will be paid straight away. And then it's £10,000, not yearly, every month until the December of 85.
Cash flow. Support.
So that's it. And he said, and then on top of that, Oldham will get 25,000 plus VAT immediately after his 25th appearance.
Bloody hell. Oh, well, they got paid in full, didn't they?
Yeah. And then there was another 50 grand because it's great because this is what, when you hear so and so with add-ons, well, this is what the add-ons, and it was 50,000 would be paid if he played for England.
See, I would have thought add-ons were like a new thing. Didn't know it was going back all the way back then as well.
That's what I was thinking. Still, that's what I was thinking. I didn't realise.
So
the font of all knowledge. You know damn well when Nigel's on, you're going to get the history.
So that's the special. And just to show you, Oldham. This is my Oldham contacts. That's the sales invoice that Oldham sent. Yeah. After his 25th appearance.
give us a 25 grand.
No, it's literally 25 grand plus VAT, £28,750. That's the invoice. The figures are there at the bottom.
Surprised they didn't send the bailiffs round a week later to get the money.
There you go. And that was on the 23rd of December. Merry Christmas, West Ham. Give us that 50 grand.
Right. So let's finish it off. Predictions for tomorrow.
Oh,
shite.
Or for today, actually. We're into tomorrow.
Go on, you go first, Nigel.
Oh, I knew you'd do that. Do you know, I normally have a rule that if I say we're going to draw, it means I think we're going to lose. So I'm going to
don't say we're going to draw then.
I'll go 1-1. I'll actually, no, I think we'll nick it 2-1.
Gary?
Listen, I don't know where all these goals are going to come from, but I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have a. I think we're going to have a good day tomorrow. I think with all the shit that's been going on over the past sort of couple of weeks. We had the Lopetegui and Steiden thing. The week before last, and then this week is Lopetegui and Kudus. I think we're going to get it right tomorrow, and I think we'll concede. We don't seem to be capable of keeping a clean sheet. But I'm going to go 3-1 as well. I'm going to go 3-1. Guys, it's been excellent. Thank you so much, and I can see people in the chat are appreciating it as well. So really appreciate Gary. Much appreciated, mate. And,
really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that show.
Can I just confirm that we paid 210,000 for Tony Gill?
210. Are either of you going to the sports club tomorrow?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not actually going to the game. I've given my ticket to someone else because for the second week running, I'm going away with my wife for the night because domestic duties have taken over. It will be the last game I'll miss this season, though. But on the upside, I haven't seen us win yet, so it could be an omen.
Well, you'd have had to have gone to an away game. Well, you have. Obviously, you didn't go to the one we won then.
Yeah, I went to the film. Yeah.
I feel honoured. I've seen us win.
Yeah. I've only seen us lose at home. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, probably. Still,
I might see you there then in the morning.
Well, I won't be there. I'll probably go in there.
I never get anywhere early, so I don't even know why I said morning. So
yeah, I wondered. I thought, fucking hell, still
is it open properly now? Is it open fully?
No, properly. It's only open before the game.
It's only before the game.
Yeah,
I do like it in there though. I do like it. Very good. I will go there next time.
Really?
Yeah. Don't you like it?
Let's keep that for another show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Gary, Nigel, as usual.
Yes.
There won't be a Friday late night next Friday because I'll be sunning myself in a far, far away place. Nice. So there won't be a Friday night next Friday, but do tune in for one or two other shows during the week. But come on, let's get a win. Let's go to the international break on a high because I think we need it, don't we? We need a bit of a boost. Really appreciate you coming on, and I'll see you all. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, and then I'll chat in the background. Cheers, Gary. Speak to you later, Nigel. Thank you all, people, for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be back soon. And have a good day tomorrow when we win. We will win. And watch out for. I'll probably do a preview on Saturday morning. Certainly do something straight after the game, and probably do a reflection show on Sunday, and then the West Ham Weekly on Monday. So watch out for all those. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you all soon.